Hi! Welcome back to She With Sue, where every woman's story is valid here at Ushirikatv. I'll be your host, Sue Kiruma. And today, in our today's episode, we've been dealing with transformation from addiction. But in our today episode, we'll be talking about transformation from substance abuse. And we have our guest, Wendy Kinyanjui. Karibu sana, karibu sana.
Thank you, Sue. How are you?
I'm good, and it's good to see you looking
good to
beautiful.
see you too. Excited,
yeah?
Yes,
and
definitely.
a beautiful smile. I'm sure today our viewer will be like, okay, look at that smile.
I hope so.
So, karibu sana.
Yes.
Yes, kindly tell us, who is Wendy Kinyanjui?
Wendy Kinyanjui is a loving daughter of God, very enthusiastic, hence the smile. I'm a lawyer by profession, an advocate of the High Court, a cybersecurity analyst, a trainer in law, and I run a ministry and a program called Celebrate Recovery.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Hey, all right. So today here we are celebrating many recoveries. So if you are not recovering, please start celebrating with us. All right. So why did you come up? Let me start there. The ministry part. Kabla uanze kuniitilia sheria hapa. Let me start. Why celebrate recovery?
Oh, so there's a backstory to it, actually. So it's a ministry that helps people deal with hurts, hang-ups, and habits.
Okay.
Just meaning this, that we have all been hurt, or that we have all hurt others. I mean, and we've all been through some sort of pain, whether it is growing up in dysfunctional families, whether it is going through tragedy or trauma, loss of loved ones, grief, abuse, whether it is emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. We've just been through pains, even as children, as adults. Yeah. If we don't work through these hurts, we may develop hang-ups. And hang-ups is how you see ourselves or our others because of what we've been through. And that's where you have your bitterness, your anger, your resentment, your feelings of not being good enough, your feelings that you don't measure up, control issues, just the emotional things that we take up from what we've been through. And again, if you don't authentically work through these hang-ups through Christ, you may develop destructive habits. So for others like me, it was alcohol abuse. For some, it's drug abuse. For some, it's gambling. For some, it's sexual integrity issues. Maybe pornography, masturbation, moving from one sexual partner to the other. For some, it's love and relationship addiction, where you feel hujatosha mboga unless you're in a relationship. For some, it's food issues, either eating too much or depriving yourself from normal amounts of food. So the program just helps one deal with that. It's a program that was started abroad. I believe you've heard of someone called Pastor Rick Warren.
Yes.
Yes, so it was started in his church 30 years ago.
Wow.
By a gentleman called John Baker. So because of my story, I figured I'm not the only one. And through a gift of a Bible from an aunt, I discovered the program. So I went and learned about it, was trained about it, how to start it. So I recently launched it this year.
Wow, yeah. Congratulations.
Asante.
So now,
yes,
that you've mentioned, like you said in your story, yours was alcohol. So tell us your story. We're here to listen to Wendy's story.
Oh gosh!
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm 30 years old. I turned 30 this year.
Okay.
Grew up in a loving family with two parents. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and a beautiful, beautiful niece. I grew up, went to primary school. I went to Consolata school. Went to high school. So there's nothing there with regards to alcohol. But then I joined the University of Nairobi. So when I was in high school, there wasn't this, I was in Kenya High. There wasn't too much push towards alcohol and all of that. So right before joining campus, when I was joining campus, I started drinking. I wasn't too excited about it, but I have to say I had never made a conscious decision that I, Wendy Wangari, do not drink, or this will not overtake me, or this is not the kind of person I am. So when I just was introduced to alcohol, it wasn't a new thing. I've grown up in a family, a larger family, where people drink responsibly or not. That's not for me to say. So when I started drinking, it was like, okay. And I remember I started enjoying that mellow feeling. I remember it was one black ice, then two black ices. Um, and before with my friends, it was my friend would have a drink, and then I think I would take a Coke, and then the next round I would take a Sprite, and then the next round I would take a Fanta, and that got old. So I started with a black ice, and I just enjoyed the mellow feeling, and it just gave me more confidence. So I'm a people person, so I just felt like I needed that boost. Again, this was just getting into campus, starting school. I was joining University of Nairobi, as I said, to study law. And then you're always broke, so you can't really afford 1, 2, 3 black ices. So it became, let's buy hard liquor, vodka, gin at the supermarket, and we pre-game. And that just slowly became a norm. It became something that we always did with my group of friends. I lived at home, so most of my friends, I believe, most if not all lived in school or apartments near school or hostels and all of that. So I always felt like they had the better life. So I had to do my damage between 8 and 5. So if class got cancelled or something was happening, we would have a drink. And then I realized I would always be the one who gets drunk the most. I really fought it, but I was the lightweight. Yes. I was the one who would black out the first one. Yeah, so I really fought it. Later on, at the rehab, I came to learn that there's something, an enzyme, I believe, called alcohol dehydrogenase, meaning that we all just break down things, alcohol, differently. There are some, you could have 3 drinks, I have 1 drink, and we are the same level of drunk. Me, I would get drunk fastest, always. And I think I fought that. So really, I should have quit alcohol many years ago, but I struggled on. I really did for many years. I started drinking right before turning maybe 20 and drank all the way to 26.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, those are clean 6 years.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then now, did it affect your education? Did it?
It did. I finished Parkland's law school, by the grace of God. But I really partied. Yes, I really did. It really affected my relationship with my parents. They could see I struggled. But again, I was not drinking every day. I think that's, and you made the distinction. Sometimes you think addiction, you have to be drinking or doing or taking a substance every day. I used to binge, so maybe I didn't drink Monday to Friday, especially now when I started working, and I'll get to that. But when I drank. In fact, I remember my dad telling me, surely Wangari, you can't sleep with a bottle in the same house. One of you has to sleep. And it's always you finish it and then it's you, So I think I just didn't have that control when I started.
So when you started?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so okay. I finished, after 4 years, I finished, got a law degree, started working somewhere, and then went back to school for my postgraduate Kenya School of Law. Yeah, but I was still not done with the drinking.
And so you finished, you graduated?
I finished, I graduated. Now I was working and I was doing school, but I was also really drinking. And my boss at that time had started just mentoring me to start to teach some course. So I was also doing that. Again, by the grace of God, I finished. I finished Kenya School of Law. I was not done with the drinking. Maybe I should have mentioned that I grew up at Ridgeways Baptist Church, so that was my home church. I had moved aside, or rather away from home. So I decided, you know what, I'm really struggling with this. Why don't I join a Bible study or join a church nearby? Which I did. I joined a program called Plug In, Mizizi. So I did it, enjoyed it thoroughly, and even started volunteering and continued to do that for many years. But I still struggled with the alcohol. So I served, and I think for me it was, God, you can see I'm trying. I've done my part. I'm reading the word even. I'm even serving. I'm doing my part. But just allow me to enjoy life. I think I was not convinced that I was fully immersed in God's work. I've always known I wanted to serve. That I always knew. But I always felt that I wanted to live both worlds.
You need to experience.
Yes.
Yes.
You know? So I was like, I'm doing my part. God, you can see I'm serving you. But let me just enjoy a bit. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I think that is, most people find themselves in that place.
Yes.
And you don't realize, like, you're actually abusing something or...
Yes. And the danger, I think we shouldn't take it lightly when it says, you know, when the word of God says that God cannot be mocked, you know, and you reap what you sow. So this life that I was busy sowing, these shenanigans and craziness, yeah, I was going to suffer the consequences. Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've had Wendy's story, and going forward, holding that thought, we're taking a short break. We'll be right back with Wendy. She will tell us how she ended up in a rehab, or she just woke up one day and the hunger for beer just died. So she'll be telling us in a few. So yeah, taking a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back at She with Sue here to Ushirikatv. On this episode, we'll be we're talking about abuse of substance. And our guest today is Wendy Kinyanjui. She has given us her story on how she started in campus, engaging in alcohol and drinking and having fun. So we call it party after party. But now she's going to tell us how it affected her and how she recovered. Whether she recovered sobali, uliamka ukapata, I'm not chick, nikotusa, I can't take it anymore, or you had to go through a process of rehab. She'll be telling us that right here and right now. So karibu Wendy. Yes, so tell us. So did you wake up one morning and you discovered, well,
I don't have the thirst
I
for
don't
it.
have the
It's
thirst
gone.
anymore.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah.
I wish. I did wake up on a Monday morning. It was the 26th of February, 2018. Right. It was a Monday morning. I woke up and I just had this overwhelming sense of hopelessness. Like I'm just done. I'm not where I should be. This is not where I should be at work. There are dreams and hopes. And I'd seen a trajectory, but this was the day. And I remember calling a friend of mine and telling her, hey, you know what? I'm not in a good place. I'm at the bottom. And she's like, no, I'll come and see you. I told her, no, it's okay. I think I need to tell on myself. I think I need to tell my parents what's going on. Because out of that whole feeling and sense of hopelessness and just, I'm stuck, I'm in a rut, I'm just that big funk, I wanted to have a drink. And that scared me. I think I was like, hey, this is how I become one of those people we hear about. I've always thought, oh, addiction, drunkards, whatever it is, are those people in the trenches. That morning I realized I am she. Yeah. So I called my dad that morning. Well, yeah, mid-morning. I called him and told him I need help and I need help now. And it was frantic. I was crying. I was breaking down. I told him I need help now. And he came. I like to speed through that part because I didn't just call him. I went somewhere and took shots. Yes, I just needed the courage. It's not an easy call for you to call your dad and tell him you're struggling, you're a working alcoholic and all of this. So he came with my mom and it was, what's wrong, what's going on? And I just told them, I'm struggling. If I go on like this, I'll die. If there's any day I'd wanted my life to end was that day. And my mom was like, would you go somewhere? Can we call someone? Would you go into an institution? And I said, yes. When would you go? I said, today. So ndio mimi huyo na handbag, shwa, kinda rehab. My mom had an aunt of mine talk about a place called Teen Challenge. She'd once sat, I think, with one of the founders, Anne Martin, at a dinner somewhere. So she heard about it in passing. So she called. And that Monday afternoon, I went to Teen Challenge, drunk. Totally. But I just knew I never wanted to feel like that again. So that's, people go after interventions, long conversations. I used to see people come with suitcases. I went with my dress and my handbag. I should have been going to work that day. And I went to a rehab.
Wow. Yes. That's how you entered there?
That's how I entered. And later on is when my people were bringing for me things. So it's a faith-based rehabilitation program. It runs for a year. It's voluntary. There are people who come in 2 weeks. They're like, oh, I'm done in 6 months, in 5 months. Because it's everywhere. It was started in the US, I believe, about 60 years ago. I figured there's a reason why they put it for a year. And I had been drinking for a long time. So if I've been drinking for at least 6 years or above, there is no way I'm going to curb that habit in 3 months or 60 days or 4 months. So I decided to do the time, and do the whole year.
Wow.
Yes.
You didn't struggle inside there? You didn't have like setbacks?
I think I was determined. Because I had worked, I was teaching, I had a busy life. I quite enjoyed the calm and everything, but it's hard. It's hard being in a rehab. I think that's the reason why I talk about my story, so that people don't have to go to a rehab. It's hard, the stigma, just trying to figure out really how bad was it that I had to end up here. Yeah. So that's not easy. I don't have sisters, as you've heard me say. I just have 2 brothers. So living with 14, 15 girls, it's like you're back in high school as an adult, with people telling you what to do, when to do, how to do it. It's the most humbling experience. Yes. They take away your phone. You don't read newspapers. Me, I'm a newspaper person. So no newspaper, no phone. They remove you from the world. Yeah. It's like a reset, factory reset.
Which you're not used to.
No, you're not. So that was hard. Lots of spiritual emphasis. We joke and say God in the morning, in the afternoon, Holy Spirit in the evening, Jesus for breakfast. They really just hit you with a word. But for me, I just thought, I just need to figure out how it is I ended up in a rehab. Because if I don't figure out how I ended up here, should the same set of circumstances repeat themselves, I'll be back here. Yeah. So it wasn't easy. And I did the full year, came out, and honestly, my plan was just to slide back into society, go back, be in court, pretend nothing really happened. But there's something about when God does a new thing, you want to talk about it. There's a castrat in your walk. So I just started talking about it one to another, sharing my story. My pastor had stumbled upon me at the rehab. I had always told everyone, I can tell my story, but I'm never saying it at Ridgeways Baptist. So one day the pastor comes to share the words at Teen Challenge. And I'm opening the gate and he's like, oh, hi, you work here. And I'm like, nope, you're lost sheep, I am she. But he just took it upon himself. Pastor Wanji, I think, just got a soft spot and thought, surely one of my congregants ended up here and I didn't even know. He talked to my parents and he just came and started to see me. And then after, even when I was done, he walked with me. And one day I told him, can I share my story in church? And he asked me, are you sure? I said, yeah, let me share it. I've always been convinced that I'm not the only one. Yeah, I'm not the unique person. There must be others like me. So I shared my story in 2019 and the response was just overwhelming. People, families, individuals, old and young, talking to me about what they were going through, what they were struggling with. And I remember just telling my mom, hey, do you think I should stop being a lawyer, be a counselor or therapist? I don't know. And then I remembered a Bible that my aunt had gifted me when I was at Teen Challenge. She had visited the US. She'd been looking for a book, didn't find the book, bought me this Celebrate Recovery Bible. And it had all these stories, principles, just things. And I was like, I wish we would start this ministry here. So I was like, oh, I'll tell my pastor, Pastor Wanji. And I thought he'll have many questions. So I thought, let me find out about the program and then ask him about it. So I Googled it. I was started at Pastor Rick Warren's church, Saddleback Church, by a gentleman called John Baker, Pastor John Baker, who recently died actually this year. But I decided, let me tell them this story that I'm telling you. Growing up, alcohol, school, struggling, Teen Challenge, and if they feel like it would be good to start it. So I wrote to them. I wrote to Pastor Rick Warren. I wrote to, what's the book called? Purpose Driven Life. Purpose Driven Life. I wrote to Pastor John Baker. I wrote to Celebrate Recovery. I wrote on their Facebook, their Instagram, their Twitter, their LinkedIn, their website.
Okay.
I hit them, with this story.
Totally.
I was just like, if it doesn't work, that's fine. But shall it be known that I tried? And they all responded to me. They all responded to me. They got me in touch with the international director and what it takes to start it. I told our church, I wrote a proposal, and they accepted to start the program. So early 2020, packed my bags, went to the US, learned about it, got stuck due to COVID for many, many months, about 10 months after that. But even being stuck, I just met people along the way. I sat with someone, a gentleman called Mick one day. He runs a non-profit, him and a couple of people. So him and their people, they're called Recovery International, do celebrate recovery. And they just had a burden for Ridgeways. And they just started sponsoring our church. By the time I was leaving the US, they had shipped a barrel. They recently shipped another one. So even when I came back, training people about it, launching the program, I had full support from them. So it's been nice. The program, I think I started by talking about it. So the program is in about 37,000 churches in the US.
Wow.
It's in Europe, it's in Asia, it's all over. We're hoping to have a really good base in Kenya and in Africa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm so proud of you, Wendy. You've really made us proud.
Really? Thank you.
The Wendy I knew and the Wendy I know now, these are totally two different people. And I'm liking your busy life. And because I think sometimes even when we come from rehab, the reason why we lapse is because we are idle. So we go back to the same settings.
Yes.
We are idle.
Yes.
We don't have something to do. Please note, the society is judging us. The society, you know.
Oh, it's not, people don't talk about people going to rehabs,
Yeah.
let alone ladies going to rehab. It's almost a taboo topic. But one of the other things I've just learned is to guard my sobriety. I think I joked, and I tell people, going to rehab and all of this, it's not a switch. It doesn't mean the thirst went. It's how do you deal with life? Because the issue is never the substance.
Yeah.
It's all of this, how are you coping with life? Me, I was one of those people for sweeping things under the carpet. So I have learned, to deal with things that alcohol is not an escape. Yeah.
Wow. And I think this is a very important message to all of us. And the truth is, even as we conclude this series of addiction, the truth is everybody has an addiction. However, whichever, it might not be alcohol, it might not be smoking, it might not be bang, but you have an addiction of some kind, something that you can't do without. Yeah, that's what we're calling an addiction. Please, as a viewer, just know your addiction and know how to deal with it. You need help? Call us on 0705 890 890. We'll be able to link you up with people like Wendy who have such a beautiful ministry. You might be broken beyond and you think it is done. I've interviewed people who here have been broken beyond words. And That brokenness, that hurt, that pain led them to do things they never thought they could actually be engaged. Some of us, by God's grace, even through our pain, somehow we escaped that truth. Somehow. It's not that we are special, but it's just that there's a grace that covered us. And probably at that time, Wendy, God had given us friends or true friends. You know, sometimes you need true friends. People will tell you the truth and lead you the right way. So if you're in that space, you can reach us on that number. It will be on our screen. Kindly reach us on that number. We will link you up with Wendy Kinyanjui and you will get your help. All right. So even as we come to the conclusion, I want to thank you, Wendy, for coming. And before we close, what would be your parting shot? Give us your parting shot.
First of all, we run the Celebrate Recovery services each Friday, 6:30 at Rangers Baptist Church. But it's okay to struggle, but we all rise. God is not in the business of shaming people. Mm-hmm. He works all things for the good of those who love. Not some things. In all my mess, my craziness, my messing up, he worked that out for the good. He's able to do that. I think families should come out and say, you know what, I'm struggling. This is not working. There's no shame in that. God's grace is sufficient. So my parting shot, first of all, to thank you for this opportunity. I don't take it for granted. Yeah. I feel famous now that I'm on TV. Thank you, Susan. All right. First of all, that God loves you. There's nothing that you can do that can separate you from God's love. His grace is sufficient. I share my story and I choose to be vulnerable so that people can learn that if God could do this for Wendy, surely he will do it for me. The other thing is, please join us. We have Celebrate Recovery services every Friday at 6:30 p.m. at Rangers Baptist Church. And God is not in the business of shaming people. So it doesn't matter what you're going through, what you're struggling with. He is able, he's willing, and he wants to help you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Wendy, for being our guest today. And I'm sure our viewer has enjoyed listening to you here at Ushirikatv, She with Sue, where every woman's story is valid. I was your host, Sue Kiruma. And from She with Sue, we want to wish you a prosperous new year. May the Lord prosper you, 2022. May he keep you and shield you from evil. You're blessed.